Okay, let's be honest, texting can be a minefield. Is it a casual hey or a strategically timed message? Today, we're diving into the psychology of texting, specifically how to build that elusive attraction by dissecting a guide originally aimed at men trying to up their game with women.
And while the source material might scream dating advice, the insights are surprisingly relevant for anyone who wants to communicate more effectively. After all, who hasn't agonized over a text, wondering how it'll be received?
Exactly. It's like everyone suddenly becomes a communication expert the second they hit send. But this guide, it really digs into the psychology, starting with this idea of mystery. Apparently, predictable texting is about as exciting as watching paint dry.
And there's a reason for that. We're naturally drawn to the unknown. Think about your favorite stories, movies, even that page turner you can't put down. They all tap into our love of intrigue, of wanting to uncover the next layer.
It's like that delicious suspense, that, ooh, what's next feeling. And this guide, get this, they actually compare a good text conversation to a cliffhanger.
Which, from a psychological standpoint, makes perfect sense. Leaving someone wanting more, it creates this anticipation, this desire to bridge the gap between what they know and what they don't know.
But, and I think this is crucial, it's a fine line between intriguing and just plain annoying.
Absolutely. You want to pique someone's interest, not make them feel like they're pulling teeth to get a straight answer. And that brings us to the next point. This guide hammers home scarcity. Apparently, instant replies and always being available, it's not the green flag we might think it is.
Okay, this one threw me for a loop. Because isn't being responsive a good thing? This guide seems to think otherwise. It actually says that always being glued to your phone and replying instantly can make you appear, well, a little too eager.
It's like the old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. When something is constantly available, it's easy to take it for granted. The same principle applies to attention.
So are we saying that playing hard to get actually works? Because I have to admit, this whole scarcity equals value thing is making me rethink my lightning fast reply times.
Think of it less as playing hard to get, and more like showcasing that you have a life outside of your phone. This guide takes it a bit far, suggesting you wait hours before responding, which, let's be real, isn't always practical.
Hours, yeah. That's a level of zen I haven't quite achieved. But I get the underlying message. Having interests and commitments outside of texting makes your time and attention more valuable.
Exactly. It subtly communicates that you're not just sitting around waiting for a notification to light up your screen. It adds a layer of intrigue, like what are they up to that's so captivating?
Which brings us to the next point. This guide emphasizes adding an edge through confident flirting.
Okay, so we're done with being mysterious and slightly unavailable. Time to turn up the heat a little.
Think of it as injecting a spark, a way to differentiate your message from a purely platonic, hey, how's it going? So instead of blending in with the masses, you want your text to stand out. They actually gave an example. Imagine a text that says, what are you up to? Now compare that to, I bet you're up to something way more interesting than me right now.
That second one, it piques your curiosity, right? It hints at a playful dynamic without being overly forward. And that's the key, being subtly flirtatious, showing you're not afraid to engage on a slightly deeper level.
But there's a fine line, right? Because no one wants to feel like they're being hit on too aggressively via text.
Exactly. The guide stresses that it's about confident flirting, not being overly sexual or pushy. You want to make the other person feel intrigued, not uncomfortable. So what do we have so far? We're being a little mysterious, showcasing our valuable time and adding a dash of playful flirting. Are you ready for the next level?
Bring it on! I'm ready to become a texting ninja.
What other secrets does this guide hold?
Well, they delve into the art of crafting the perfect opening message, which can make or break a conversation before it even begins. And let me tell you, they don't hold back on their opinions about those generic hey and what's up openers.
Wait, are they saying those are a no-go? Because I'll admit I've set my fair share of those.
Think about it. How many times have you received one of those messages yourself? They can feel impersonal, almost like an afterthought. And remember, we're aiming for intrigue, for making the other person feel like you actually put some thought into this.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light. So if hey is a conversational dead end, what are we supposed to open with? This guide suggests tapping into something you already know about the other person, maybe referencing a conversation you had or a shared interest. It shows that you're paying attention, that you're not just firing off generic greetings into the void.
So like, if you know they're really into a particular band or you talked about a movie you both wanted to see, you could work that into your opening line.
Exactly. It could be as simple as, hey, I was just listening to that band we talked about and it made me think of you. Or, have you seen that movie yet? I'm dying to hear what you thought.
Okay, I can see how that would be much more engaging than a plain, hey, it's like you're picking up where you left off, even if it's just a digital conversation. What about compliments? Are those fair game in the world of strategic texting?
They do recommend compliments, but with a caveat. They advise against anything generic or overly focused on physical appearance.
So no, you have beautiful eyes right off the bat.
Probably for the best. Instead, the guide suggests focusing on qualities, accomplishments, or something that genuinely impressed you. It's about showing you see beyond the surface.
Okay, so looks more about personality and substance. So instead of you have a great smile, it would be more like your sense of humor is incredible.
Exactly. Or, I was really impressed with how you handled that presentation. It demonstrates that you're paying attention to who they are, not just how they look.
Subtle but effective.
Oh.
So we've tackled opening messages, but what about keeping the conversation flowing? How do we avoid that dreaded moment when the chat fizzles out?
This guide has a lot to say about that, and it actually warns against falling into interview mode.
Interview mode? Like grilling someone with a list of generic questions?
Precisely. You know the what do you do, where are you from type of back and forth. It's like filling out a dating profile, not engaging in a fun, flirty conversation.
Oh, yes. I've been there, and it's the opposite of exciting. So how do we escape that conversational black hole?
The key, they say, is injecting personality and playfulness. It's about going beyond those surface-level questions and finding common ground, shared passions, or even engaging in some lighthearted teasing.
So anything that sparks a real connection, something you can actually build on. They wouldn't want us to whip out our favorite knock-knock jokes, would they?
Maybe not knock-knock jokes, but they do stress the power of humor and shared stories. Think of it as mini anecdotes that reveal your personality or offer a glimpse into your world.
Okay, so instead of how was your day, it's more like, you wouldn't believe what happened to me at the grocery store today.
Exactly. It's about being relatable and creating a shared experience, even if it's just through a screen. They actually compare a good conversation to a tennis match.
A tennis match? That's an interesting analogy. How so?
Think about it. In a good tennis match, there's a dynamic exchange of energy. It's not just one person hitting the ball and waiting for the other to react passively.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So how do we translate that tennis match energy into our text conversations?
It's about asking open-ended questions, sharing stories, and responding in a way that keeps the conversation moving. Don't be afraid to be a little bold, a little playful, and most importantly, don't overthink it.
So it's less about memorizing a script and more about being present and engaged in the conversation.
Precisely. Because at the end of the day, the most attractive quality you can bring to any interaction, whether it's text or face-to-face, is authenticity.
That's a great takeaway. Be authentic, be engaging, and don't be afraid to inject a little personality into your texts. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the psychology of texting, I think the challenge for all of us is this. How can we bring more of ourselves into our digital communication, regardless of who we're texting? It's about finding that sweet spot between strategy and authenticity, adding a dash of intrigue, and remembering that a good conversation, even a digital one, should be a delightful volley, not a one-sided monologue.